man has been living all his life ill, lame. Now you can imagine if you have been lame for 38 years, how would you feel? You would feel disheartened, depressed. You know, I was just thinking, a blind person doesn't know what he or she is missing, if you think of it. If a blind person from birth wouldn't know. Because he couldn't really compare. But a lame, he sees everybody walking and can see what he is incapable of doing. When Jesus saw him, verse 6, laying there and knew that he had been there a long time in that condition, he said to him, "Do you wish to get well?" Yes, right? Well, do you wish for your body to be restored fully? Yes. Okay, I'll not ask that question again. Then the next, verse 7 says, the sick man answered, "Sir, I have no one to put me in the pool." And in Greek, the emphasis there is, I have no one. No one cares. No one bothers. No one took notice of my condition and had enough desire to help me. No one. Not even my friends. Not even my acquaintance. Not even my relatives. Not only was he lame, he was forgotten. No one. Absolutely no one. When my son, Santino, was sick recently, I mean, my wife was there to take care of him. My daughter was there to take care of him. As usual, my son was in school, so he couldn't take care of him, right? But here, no one cared. That's sad. It's sad to be in pain, and no one is there to comfort you. Year after year. 38 years is a long time. The desperation, the hopelessness that you can feel, the depression. You know, I can imagine this man entering into a point of depression, getting out of it, then going back. And it does not change year after year. "Sir, I have no one to put me on the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I am coming, another steps down before me." And he tells him his frustration. Not only is no one caring for me, you know what? I'm always trampled down. Somebody gets ahead, I really try. God knows I try every day. I try every moment. There was not one moment that I was not trying. But somebody steps down before me with a friend, with a relative who has feet, who can run when the water is stirred. Malas ko of all sickness. Pilay. Okay lang sana kung pipe, I can still run eh. Ako pilay. I mean, have you been in that situation? You're in a rut for a long time, and it's a point now of desperation. Then verse 8 says, "But Jesus said to him, 'Get up, pick up your pallet, and walk.'" You know, we see here a man that is incapable of helping himself. 38 years. If he was capable, he would have been healed. But he's totally incapable of helping himself. Not only that, in verse 8, we see God commanding a man to do something that he is totally incapable of doing. I mean, Lord, are you kidding? Sir, are you kidding? It's like me telling Bambi, go to the 3rd floor, jump and fly. Is he capable of doing that? Totally not. Are you capable of doing that? Totally not. You say, you're crazy, Dad. What's wrong with that instruction? Here, similarly, when Jesus said, get up, pick up your pallet, and walk, he was giving a command that he cannot on his own obey. Obey. But, simply because, and here is a big difference, God told him so. You know what's so great with our God? Every commandment of God given to you can be obeyed. Because his commandment comes with empowerment. Unbelievable. If God tells you to do something, guess what? You are able to. Because it's not a law, it's not an instruction, it's not the law of man that given by our constitution that you have to do this. The law of man doesn't empower me. It does not give me the strength. But because it's the word of God, once it's spoken, it empowers you. That's awesome. That's why it is God. That's how powerful it is. His very word written on ink, when read, when perceived, empowers me. It will empower you. And it will empower all mankind who reads it. So when we hear a command of God, guess what? We have no excuse not to obey. You cannot say, Lord, I cannot obey. The only reason is, Lord, I refuse to obey. Guess what, Lord? I have a ton of reasons to hide my guilt. Why I cannot obey? Lord, because this, that. I mean, guys, let's really be simple with our Christianity. The song, right? Trust and obey. There is literally no other way. Really. It's as simple as that. But when we think the consequences are big, when we think our life is in peril, when we think by obeying we will be sad, we will find now 1,001 reason why not. But deep down inside you, you know you are disobedient. If you're a child of God, now for an unbeliever, no problem. Unbeliever naman eh. Right? But for believers, we have no excuse not to obey. Because we have the power to obey, given by God Himself. So immediately, without a moment's skipping, the man became well. All of a sudden, he's able to bend his knees. He's able to feel his senses. All of a sudden, blood starts flowing into his limbs, into his toes. For the first time, he's able to wiggle his toes. All of a sudden, he feels blood filling his thighs. Amazing. Why? Because Jesus is God. That's the book of John. Because He is God. He's able to command a withered feet to function. Because He is Lord of all. I said nga eh, when God speaks, the universe obeys. When He said, let there be light, there was light. Let there be animals that graze in the fields, there was. When God says, mountain rise up, they rose up. Seas and ocean, you will never go farther than this point. The waves never cross that point. Now, you stars, you revolve, you moon, you reflect, sun, you will burn. They all obey. Yet when He speaks to man, whom He created in His image and likeness, He tells us to do something, and we say no. No, Lord, I'll not obey. It's my life, Lord. I have to think of my happiness. I have to think of my future. Lord, I'll do anything but obey You on things that crosses my path. But here we see He is indeed God. Immediately the man became well and picked up his pallet and began to walk. A man who's incapable of doing anything, because of the Word of God, the empowerment of His very Word, was able to do something. Same with us. We can only do something. Diba? God said, apart from me, you can do nothing. Nothing that will matter for all eternity. Yes, you can do something. You can cook. You can massage. You can work. But does that really matter? Apart from Him, you can do nothing that has eternal value. No amount of good works, no amount of good works that you have done, no amount of donation, no amount of service, no amount of anything matters if it's done apart from God. A lot of people are like that. They build monuments, they build all the schools, they build all the, they donate everything. But believe sa sarili. Realizing na, galing-galing ko. I'm able to do all of these things. Man, all of that, apart from God, means nothing. You might get the praise of man, but you're displeasing to God. What's that? Verse 10. By the way, in John chapter 5, John chapter 1, in the beginning was the Word, and where was God, right? John chapter 2, it's the well in Canaan. John chapter 3, it was Lazarus, right? John chapter 4, it's the Samaritan woman. No biggie. Yes, they're big, but they're all biggies. But to the Jews, they're no biggies. John chapter 5 is the biggie. It is in John chapter 5 that the persecution of Jesus Christ started. It is here, it is because of that healing that people started plotting His death. And the pressure started from this story, John chapter 5. So the Jews were saying to the man who was cured, it is the Sabbath, and it is not permissible for you to carry your pallet. Instead of being happy, instead of being joyful, they're being legalistic. By the way, sometimes we think the Jews are legalistic, which they are, especially the Pharisees. Not necessarily all, but you have to understand, they have a reason for being legalistic. The reason they are legalistic is because the Jews has been occupied by the Romans, and initially by the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, now by the Romans. Now, for them to be able to preserve their culture, they had to be strict with the obedience of the law.